What up, ladies and gentlemen? Here with another awesome interview. I was gonna say artist interview, also artist. I'm super excited to be doing this. Here with Malia from Ciao Malz, which is this really fun indie pop project. And there is really no way to kind of describe it. It's just very feel good, upbeat, and I would say like almost a warm, fuzzy feel type of music, which is always fun and always welcomed on the show. So welcome, and how's life?
Life is good. Thanks for that introduction.
Of course.
Everything's been going good. The EP's been out for a month, so I've been doing a lot of stuff like this and just like enjoying it and letting it be out there. But so far so good. I feel good about it.
Of course. Are you happy with how it's been, I guess, have people been responding to it?
Yeah, I've never really had so many people respond to things in the past. I really haven't released them in the same matter, so that's why. But it's really cool to read some of the reviews and some people who like really care and like are comparing it to stuff that I like or like really nitpicking some of the stuff that like I worked a little bit harder on or just like I think it was like received very well and it's exciting to see what people have to say. Like nothing bad so far, which is the
Of
best.
course. I love when artists will release EPs and it gets the light that it deserves to get. Because I know some of my friends have gotten that and had that same reaction. And it's so fun. It's so beautiful, you know? You're finally getting the flowers, which is great.
Yeah, it's like someone's paying attention and like not only is paying attention, but like they understand it, which is hard.
Exactly. And I feel the same way with like, interviews. And it's a different type of art form, but the same thing for sure. And so I guess the next question would be, right, how are you going to capitalize on this with all this good press and everyone talking about you and buzzing? Where is the next step?
Yeah, it's confusing. I think the next step is always just to make more and like use this to like bring them into the next thing and like have listeners for that and see how it goes. It's like harder to do like social media and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of like that's definitely part of it that I need to do. But yeah, I think it's just like a lot of motivation to keep going. I just feel like I didn't really think of it when I was making it in the same way that I'll make the next one because of all the good word and efforts that went into like the PR.
Of course, of course. And making the EP, right? What was your writing process and your thought process when coming up with this like group of songs?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because I've been trying to write new songs, and I like can't really re remember how I did all of them on the last EP. They're all wildly different. Nothing really sounds the same or is like lyrically that similar. I think I would just kind of like make the song up as I went along and got another musical piece for it. And I'm trying not to do that this time because it's really hard to, it's harder to record. It's harder to like see the vision when you're just kind of like not knowing what it's about and being almost done with instruments. So, yeah, I think the writing process is going to be more like let's keep it as basic as possible before I start having more ideas and just like really trying to bring in like what's going on in my life, what would be funny, what makes sense, what could I tie this into? So I'm on the
Very
hunt.
interesting. Yeah, on the hunt for sure. What experiences do you think you would overall write about though? Because I think that's what's really interesting is like the lyricism and just kind of almost poetic writing, right? So it's
Yeah.
definitely really interesting and there's a lot of thought that I think goes into it.
Yeah, I think the experience, I feel like a lot of it, the past one was just about like where I was day to day, just like going to work, being tired. Like that was like a common theme. I feel like I don't know what it'll be this time because that's the feels kind of like overdone. So I'm just trying to think of like what else I'm doing in my life that I could make metaphors out of and sing about.
Fun and singing about all this awesome stuff. Something that I always like to ask artists is what kind of separates you from other artists in the field, which is kind of a hard and vague question because it's hard to describe your field. But what do you think
Yeah.
separates you from other, let's say, bedroom pop or indie pop artists?
I think I feel like I have like a weird like twang going on in my music that's a little bit more funkier and it like comes from like just listening to a lot of like guitarists when I was younger and like a lot of pentatonic scales that are the only thing I knew how to play. And then also just like everything I've been doing is very experimental, like a lot with analog gear, a lot of stuff that doesn't work that I've made work in the probably the non-proper way. So it has like a lot of that sound to it. And I think like those textures and stuff like that like kind of makes it stand out from other artists who I know bedroom pop gets a bad name. It's very sample heavy and like, just random stuff you find on YouTube stuff together. I feel like everything I make is usually like a natural sound that we made in the studio out of something.
For sure. And the analog stuff really is the best part, you know? I love I don't know if you know Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
Yeah.
Ruben is a great friend of mine, and when we were talking last, we talked about, analog gear and stuff. And I think it's just so fun, the idea of having these imperfections that you can't really control in these little
Yeah.
pops and crackles and all the little knobs and stuff that comes with analog that you can't replicate, you know?
Yeah, it's like such a pain to do, especially when you want to do something again, because half the time I didn't take a picture of the settings or like I
Yeah,
just didn't
real.
like I don't remember what that was from like last year or whatever. But yeah, even now I was looking for like a piano to have in my house, like a synth, because I don't really have one right now. And I was like looking at all these new things, and then I was like, man, I really want this like old, gross looking like Wurlitzer that I found that I don't even need right now, but I just love the sound of how bad it is and how like saturated. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's a
It's
problem.
always on the hunt. Like really the final I'm a guitarist and a violinist, and
Yeah.
like this thing I really want really badly is like a really nice vintage beat up guitar, but
Yes.
they're like so much money, like completely out of the budget, but I can dream.
Yeah, they're so expensive. And sometimes you'll find one that's like perfect and cool, but like the necks on the old guitars are so much like thicker and weirder that it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable to play as well. And it's like six times what I wanted to spend, but it's very cool.
Exactly. I mean, that's the fun of it though, you know? Like getting to find new things. Like my neighbor is like he was trying to make it in the music industry and he didn't quite, so he went into some other stuff. And he has like a bunch of guitars and stuff. And he has this old Les Paul from like the
Yeah.
70s. And I never thought I'd like chunky necks until I tried that. And like my eyes were like opened, you know? So it's
Yeah.
always fun getting to see that.
No, it's awesome. I want to like have more gear down the road. And I always have this idea that if I get something really expensive, then it'll like hold its value. So it's really not like purchasing something. It's like it's an
It's an investment.
investment.
Yeah, exactly. But also like with the newer gear, like you were talking about synths, right? Like I was
Yeah.
looking at the Moogs, like the really
Yeah,
cool synth with the cool sounds.
they're
They're
awesome.
so expensive.
They are so expensive. There was one at the old studio I worked at, and it was awesome. But I was like, I really am not going to use it for that many things other than like those few sounds. And I mean, there's a
Exactly.
million of them, but I'm like, it doesn't really fit with what I'm doing, but it's still cool to have.
I mean, I just like the idea of having like a cool machine that makes cool noises, but not for like $8,000. Like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, and then you look at like all of the like the VSTs or whatever, you can just use your literal keyboard to play the song. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking for, but I want the real thing.
exactly. And I think it's the same with like with guitar effects and pedals and amps, where everything's becoming so analog or not analog, but digital and on your
Yeah.
computer. And it's missing something, you know? Like I get it's useful and it's opening it up for people, but there's a really heavy reliance on it, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's honestly just too much. Like when I start to look for something, I'm like, well, there's like a million variations of this, and then there's a million things you can do with whatever thing you choose. And I think it makes it so much harder to get anything done.
Especially for people that like are really indecisive. Like
Yeah,
I know
it's
that I can't pick.
no, it's so hard. I think that's one of the worst parts about music is that there's way too much. If we just had like the old like 8-track recorders, it's like you were kind of just married to whatever was there and that was it and you were done. I feel like I'd have so many more songs if it was like if I
Yeah,
didn't have so much stuff.
exactly. It's like information overload sometimes. Again, with like the
It is.
internet and everything, it's like at the tips of your fingertips, the whatever the expression is, it's right there in front of you. And
Yeah.
so you're in Brooklyn, correct?
Yeah.
Fun. Do you mind telling me about like the music scene there and how it is getting gigs?
Yeah, it's honestly really great out here. I feel like there's so many venues and there's like so many new ones that I'll hear about just like by the month I'll see someone at. I feel like the community is really good too, just on like Instagram even. I find most of my stuff through there, like about shows and stuff. And then my friends have a magazine every month that they write for, and it has all the shows that are coming up, just like DIY artists, like indie artists. So it's like really easy to find out what's going on. I feel like for getting shows, it's been better now that I have this EP because people have reached out and been like, "Hey, do you want to be on this?" And that's the best thing ever because it's so much worse to have to like figure it out from scratch.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. Are there a lot of like DIY venues? Because those are always so cool, you know?
Yes, there's a bunch of shows like that where it'll be like DM us for the address, like last minute kind of pop-up shows in people's like backyards. Like I've been to some in like kitchens, stuff like that, or just an empty space in general. Like those are usually the best because you never really know who's going to be there, what it's going to sound like, and it's usually a lot more intimate than like a typical bar space, which I feel like there's less of out here and more of out in Manhattan where it's like separate area to like have show and then other total different area to have like bar and restaurant. Like it's much like more cohesive out here.
Yeah, I know. Like in Atlanta, we've got some DIY venues, but they're typically like really small. And it's always like
Mhm.
really cool last minute like things happening at churches or in backyards. But I think in Atlanta, it's definitely more scrams and screamo and
Yeah.
emo, like the really more abrasive, which I love that kind of music, but it's definitely missing and lacking in the indie and the folk. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very folky out here. Most of the shows that I go to are leaning on the folkier side of just like acoustic sets, stuff like that. I also love folk music, so I'm probably seeking it out too, and it just comes to me. But yeah, it's great for that out here. Like if you want to be in it, you can do it. There's a million things to
That's
do at all times.
absolutely lovely. And with folk, right? I've been really loving a really specific brand of folk, which is like neo folk with like
Yeah.
psychedelic with digital. Um, so what are your folk influences when it comes to music?
I feel like it comes from like the folk song singer-songwriter style. Like I really like John Prine.
I
It's
love
like a
John Prine, yes,
like that's kind of the my favorite thing is like that kind of songwriting. And then I really like Tyler Childers, who's a country artist, more country. But like I also the Watcha Touchy, but watch that
yeah.
song
However you say your
is
name,
that I love that too. I just feel like it has a lot of like grit to it.
for
But I
sure.
also I my other favorite like influence is kind of Men I Trust. They're more jazzy, but folky in a way. I just love them. Like, I just
I
love some stuff.
Which is always great, you know. I reached out to Midnight Trust like 5 months ago about doing something because they
Yeah.
came to Atlanta, and sadly they weren't doing any more press. But
That
one day, you know,
one day, hopefully soon.
of course. And with these artists, I think you'd really like someone named Bill Callahan. I discovered
Bill,
him. Yeah, I was like exploring record stores in Nashville, and you know Jack White owns a record store, and I went there, and they were trying to figure out what to buy, and they had this record spinning. Sounded so beautiful, kind of sad. He like
yeah.
it's almost like spoken word poetry over guitars and like lap steels, and it's beautiful. And I asked the dude what he was spinning, and he said Bill Callahan, and I bought it, and I love it. It sounds like ethereal. I think you'd really like it.
I'm gonna give it a shot. Well, I love lap steel. And I
Yeah,
love when you walk into a place and the song they're playing is so good you have to find out.
exactly. I know it's like it sparks your day. You feel happy and energetic, and
Yeah.
it's like a mystery, you know, like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it feels like you're supposed to be there. It's very rare.
Exactly. And if we're on the topic of influences, what do you think are some artists that have influenced you that people may not think, you know? Because you kind of make that folky music. So what if it's like outside of folk, maybe in the rap area or like the grunge area, perhaps? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe not, maybe not so much rap, but maybe like John Mayer. Like I feel like I was heavily influenced by John Mayer's guitar playing, and I did the guitar for almost every part of this record. And I feel like by learning all of those little like riffs in his first couple albums, I really like damaged myself for future learning because I always go back to them or like I really think about them all the time. So I feel like those come out naturally. Heavily influenced by that. Um, yeah, I don't know. And then I guess like just a lot of like 2000s like contemporary like rock, just like catchy little songs. Like, I don't know, I grew up listening to them, so I always try to like make a chorus that's bigger than it needs to be.
I definitely kind of see that. Also with like rap, what I was thinking is I don't know if you know this guy is, JPEG Mafia.
I know about
I
JPEG Mafia.
Yes, I think I see some similarities with the production and that
Yeah.
kind of feel because I don't listen to much rap, but I will listen to JPEG Mafia just because of
Yeah.
how unique it is. And I think you're definitely
It's
there.
very weird. I have listened to that. I have that on a couple playlists just because I was like, what is this? This is so odd. And I
I
like
know I love
love
recommending it to people because it's odd and his album was incredible, but then he has stuff with like Danny Brown, who is like a more traditional rap artist, and it works really well. Like it he is great. I love everything he does, and I think his like production is definitely a highlight, which I would say the same with your music.
Yeah. His stuff's definitely different though. I think I heard of him through like Anthony Fantana one year. It was like JPEG Mafia. Like this is the newest best thing. And I was like, no way. Let
Yeah,
me check it out.
Fantano loves JPEG Mafia, and honestly, like I hate that he has such a big influence on what I like,
Yeah,
but
it's bad. But I just yeah,
it
I
happened.
think
I
so.
mean, I discovered so much good music through his videos. Like, I discovered Swans through his videos,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
easy. It's so easy, especially when you haven't heard of it and he's freaking out about it. Like, well, what is
Exactly.
it? Okay.
I like you can't let those type of people influence your music too much, or I guess your music taste, but it's so natural, you know? Like if you see a bald guy talking about an album and he's like freaking out, like you said, kind of makes
Like
you
I
want to
want
check it out.
Yeah, and it's also like if usually only go to his reviews if I've heard something and I want to see what he has to say. Like
Yeah,
I want to figure out why it's so good. As
exactly.
if I know why it's so good.
Or if it's like
It's
I'm getting angry at
jokes.
his take, like he has a completely wrong take. I remember with there's a band, a decently mainstream band named Queens of the Stone Age, and they
Yeah.
had their latest album out last year, or I guess the year before, 23. And I loved it. And then he gave it like a 6. And I was like, dude, that's like not right. That is
Yeah, sometimes
incredible.
it has to be a little controversial for the channel to grow.
That is true. And he's definitely had his fair share of controversy, I'd say. What have been your favorite live gigs so far that you've played or that you've gone to? Just most enjoyable.
I go to a lot of Frog shows. Frog's like my favorite band.
Yes, I need
But
Frog on the show so badly. Jamie
every time
told,
I go what did Jamie say?
so Jamie said they aren't doing any press, so muy triste. I hope that they'll be getting some press later on because I love
They
him.
They should do it. They had a really great show a while ago at this like little club in the Lower East Side, but it's like a jazz club, so it's not set up for anything loud. So it was like acoustic guitar, like a stand-up bass, and like brushes on the drums. It was awesome.
That
It
is
was like
so
one of my
cool.
favorite shows.
What's your favorite Frog song?
I have so many. I think it's probably RIP the Empire State Flea Market.
That's a great pick. I mean, I'm low-key like with the more popular Frog songs, like the
Yeah.
hits, like
Yeah.
Maybelline. I don't know, dude. It
Yeah.
gets stuck in my head so much.
Maybelline makes me happy, like it's summertime and like we're going to Dairy Queen.
Yes, what a great core memory. Yeah, that
Yeah.
like you don't think about Dairy Queen unless I feel like you're with friends and it's summer and you have nothing better to do.
Yeah. Because like it's not even open in the winter where I'm from. They all close. It's very
Oh
sad.
wow, yeah. We always have, I guess in the South it doesn't get that
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. It's
Would you
awful.
ever want to collaborate with Frog, do you think, on like a song or something?
I would be very open to it. I
I
don't know
would
what they're
love to
doing.
see that.
Yeah, I would do it.
That'd be so much fun. And I mean, right now my hope is that they do like an actual tour, and they come down to Atlanta because I don't
They
think
are
they've.
doing a tour. I don't know where all the places they're going, but it's like a North American tour.
I know I heard about it. I'm excited. They haven't
Yeah,
announced Atlanta yet, but like fingers
they should.
crossed, They definitely should. Thank you. We gotta like make a Atlanta Froggians club, you
Yeah,
know?
there should if there's not one already.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so Frog, and is there any other like shows other than Frog that have been really like just fun in general?
Well, I play in my friend's band called Sister. So I play bass a couple times last year, and every one of those shows was rocking. It was
Sister's
very
really cool
fun.
to me. It's like it's definitely different, but it's just a really interesting institution, you know?
Yeah,
A lot
it's
of
like
lore.
it's very slow. Yeah.
I love, speaking of slow music, like stoner rock is something I never would see myself in a million years liking, but I
Yeah.
really love that like it's so slow and slow heavy and it's kind of just like the perfect type of white noise. Like
Yeah.
it tickles your brain.
Stoner rock. I feel like now there's like a million. Like, who's a stoner rock artist?
I mean, when I think of stoner rock, I think of Sleep because they
Yeah.
made that song Dope Smoker, which is an hour long.
Yeah,
Um,
that is very white noise. Like, that's how long a white noise song is.
yeah, I've listened to it in full. It's like it's definitely a struggle, but I think it's pretty rewarding, honestly. But like Sleep and stoner rock is more. Actually, I'll give you a good recommendation. My
Okay.
friends out in I think they're from Brighton in the UK. Pigs, 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 pigs. So it's
Picked 7 times.
yes. They
Okay.
are incredible. I found them on KEXP.
I
That's
love
why
cake.
I find a lot of incredible artists that then I want to like invite to my show. And I found them on there and I shot them an email and they were like willing to join me. And I got Matt. He's their like singer, and you'll know who he is exactly when you look them up. Awesome band.
Yeah.
Great hooks. Definitely interesting, you know? Like I love surrounding myself with music that may be kind of weird, even though people that like aren't earbuds and can see my music think I'm like a psychopath. I just love
Yeah.
exploring that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel like weird music or this other form, obviously non-mainstream, but just like other in general, kind of like it gets like so catchy and like resistive in a way that's like hard to put it down. Like it doesn't really even matter how the quality is. I'm usually like more interested in just because it's so weird.
That fits perfectly. There's a song called Stay Here by Swans. And
Yeah.
I love Swans for their like beautiful melodic, like very easy listening music. But that was from like the first album or the second album where it's like it's hard to listen to. The production is dog. It's just horrendous, but it's so catchy. And
Yeah.
whenever I'm doing rowing competitions, like sometimes they last like 20 minutes. So all
Yeah.
I'm hearing in my head are these like three words and this like guitar riff, which is horrible in my head. And I think that's the point, you know? It's like
I
so
love that.
gritty that it's like catchy, which you never would expect, but I feel like that kind of music really makes it, you know?
Yeah, and it's also just like more, I find it more emotional. It's like
For
easier to get
sure.
attached. It's just kind of crazy, and they're just
Got good
doing what they
memories.
want. It's not like they like rehearsed it a bunch of times and lost its magic. It's like the magic is right there.
I know it's like being there live at like a
Yeah,
local club gig or something.
got a lot of
So,
heart.
of course, and that's like the best part, honestly. I have a Swans poster on the ground over there. And so you got a new EP out, which is excellent.
Yes.
Now, the question is, what are your plans to tour?
There's no plans to tour right now. I'm very open to tour, to do shows, local, whatever. I'm like working on getting a band together because this was kind of just recorded with like me and my friends, not as like a cohesive like Chow Malz like in band. So it's like another thing to like put something together, but I think they'll be planned soon.
Exciting. Maybe you guys could open for Frog.
I've asked. We'll see what happens.
Exciting. Yes, I hope you get that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, no ask, no get. So
Yes, King Gizzard played Atlanta, and I was interviewing their bassist, and I asked if I can get on stage, and they said no, but next time, next
next
time,
time, probably.
fingers crossed. It's always fun asking like the crazy request, you know?
No, you never know when they're gonna say yes or accidentally
Exactly.
say yes. Have to follow through.
Yes, that's like with emails. I feel like the communication is so horrible. Like you have to, I feel like I always reread emails and try to make sure that I got exactly what it means. So I feel like whenever you're writing an email, sometimes it really is just very manipulative. You're just trying to get like exactly what you want, but you have to use like the like specific wording.
It's awful. Like trying to write an email and then making sure it sounds good. is awful. And then you have to follow up on it, which is embarrassing, but it's the only way.
Honestly, that got me in trouble with so many PR firms. 'Cause, like last year was my first year, and I would like follow up after 3 days, which I learned
Yeah.
quickly learned that was not a good habit. And I got called out by like the biggest publicist in the
No.
US, which was like horrible in the
Wait,
middle of
that's
lunch.
awesome. That's good that
Well, yeah,
you
thank God she told
you
me.
got to them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um,
What
that's
did you
like,
do? Were you just
man,
bothering too much?
I don't know. Like, I think they just said that like, because when when people will be like, I'll get back to you, but they never get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I would email them about it, and then they were like, there is nothing. They're just people would just say that to be polite, so you kind of just have to
Yeah.
like let it be. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know that's how it worked. I thought you would like, you have to ask for it. So that's
Yeah.
my bad. I still haven't got to work with them yet, but fingers crossed one day. Because it's so diabolical. It's like three big publicists work with every single band. Like three
Yeah.
firms own everyone, and it
Yeah.
sucks. But that's the way it is, I guess. It's monopolies.
It is a monopoly. Yeah, when you go look up whose people are, it's like the same URL or the same exact person.
Yeah, and then you feel bad for them, right? Because I'm emailing the same guy 3 times in a week for 3 different people, just because like
Yeah,
that's how it works out to be.
that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, I'm assuming you also had like email troubles and booking your own shows. I imagine it's very hard.
Yeah, I feel like now I have a label like Jamie who sends a lot of emails. But I know that Jamie has a tough time getting people to respond to their emails or
It's
just like
crazy.
being confused in general. But I don't have to see much of it, which is nice.
Yeah, I know. Like, I definitely I'm gonna start being a publicist for some local bands in Atlanta just to see if that could be something I could do. That's for fun. But I
Yeah,
like Jamie. Like, I admire Jamie so much just for the enthusiasm and the support and
yeah,
responding to DMs.
yeah, and has a great, really has heart for the business. Works really
Exactly.
hard.
For people
And
who
it's
don't
just,
know who Jamie is an awesome publicist who runs a label and like does press for Frog and you and Magana and all these fun artists.
yeah, true star.
Yes, maybe you got to get Jamie on the podcast sometime, huh?
I've been asking Jamie to do more stuff. So I think Jamie needs to be heard.
Yeah, we need like a Jamie supremacy. Jamie Club too. Why not?
Jamie has a lot to say.
I know
I
we
don't know
need
if
to
I
get the
want
word
to say it
out.
all. I don't know if we need
Yeah.
to hear it, but Jamie has stuff to say.
Well, that would definitely be fun, right? And I guess we've covered a lot. I want to find another conversation point, but we've ran through like so much in such a short period of time, which is always
Yeah, we have
fun.
ran through a lot of material.
Here's an interesting question, right? Are you like into the festival scene per se?
Like going to the festival, like not so much. I don't go to that many. I've only been to one festival.
Ooh, fun. What
I
was it?
it I went to Coachella 2 years ago.
That's a big one though.
I figured like I might as well go to like the biggest one and see how it goes. And so I went to it and I was like, this is very cool. Like everything was really nice. I really wanted to see Frank Ocean because I figured that might be the last
Uh-oh.
time I might ever see. And I did see him. And even though it was crazy, I thought it was so worth it. But the festival in itself, I just think is so overwhelming. I thought there were so many people there. It was like really hot.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed
Honestly,
it.
what I did is Atlanta has Shaky Knees, right? Which is like
Yeah.
an indie one, has the best undercard always. They do an incredible job with it. And so I got to go to Shaky Knees last year. Really the only reason I went is because I got backstage to a late night show and I was like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna go to a late night show, I might as well just get a pass and like just do the full thing anyways.
Yeah.
So I did it and I think what you have to do is like camp out a stage because that's what I did. I just camped out the second biggest stage and I was like front row and I got to see Queens of the Stone Age and then Weezer and The Offspring and Dexter and the Moonrocks. Like
Yeah.
it
You got
is
to be
really
committed.
overwhelming.
You have to be committed.
That's the worst part.
I saw some people, I was like, are these people okay? Like, do they just
Yeah. Yeah,
Like make
usually I don't like I used to always want to be in the front for shows, but then you realize like sometimes all the fun is like in the middle or the back, especially for
yeah,
like rock shows.
I agree with that. Especially like I've seen some like videos of people just like in the front for the headliner all day, like just sitting there and like taking up so much
It's
space.
so bad.
It's weird. And then there's like the weird VIP situation where those people are just like schmoozing with each other and like not listening
That
and
pissed
just
me
very
off so much. At Shaky Knees, they did this thing for the first time where they had like a literally 20 feet, like you couldn't people that got general admission for the second stage, all the close as they could get would only be like 40 feet because then they had like a 20 feet area for the really super VIPs and they had a whole other area
yeah.
for the other VIPs. And so it was so dumb because like there would be shows like Dexter and the Moonrocks played to three people in that VIP area.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
really awkward.
general admission was packed. And then for Queens of the Stone Age, they were headlining that stage. There must have been like 40 people in there, and they could definitely fit like 200. So there was like we were all getting like squished to death, and
Yeah.
it sucks.
No, it's a really weird concept. I think the festival idea itself is awesome because it's like a good price for how much show you can see. It's just like how comfortable you are is a question.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. I mean, like I'm trying to do a DIY festival in Atlanta with some local scrams bands or whatever, but I like I have so much sympathy for the organizers because it's like it's a pain. It's so much work.
It's a lot. And like you just have to have like really good sound people who know what they're doing in order to like make it efficient. And it's a
Exactly.
huge
And speaking of a lot, I know that you play multiple instruments, right? How
that's what
was
I do.
that? Yeah, how was that juggling all that, you know?
Uh it's it's usually fine. I think the worst part is that because I play them and they're like always like right behind me, I can switch too easily. So like I'll do the guitar thing and I won't even like have the full song done and I'll already be like making like a weird bass part for it. So yeah, I think it's great when it comes to like having ideas and like a vision and being able to like sort stuff out if I'm just like in Logic, just playing with it. But yeah, being able to play instruments, multiple of them is like super helpful because I can kind of have an idea of what I want way beforehand. And I'm usually like capable of making those sounds on the instrument. So it's a plus.
You learn guitar first or bass?
I learned guitar first. I think I might have learned piano before that, but I don't really play piano anymore, and I'm afraid I'm losing my ability. So that's why I was looking for a piano today.
Yeah, that's where I exactly am because I that's the first instrument I learned was piano, but I got so sick of it. Like I'm
Yeah,
not not for me.
yeah, like it's not as easy to like sit down and write a song of piano chords. It like reminds me of church or something.
Like the organs. That would be fun for a song.
Yeah, no, an organ would be very cool. I just can barely fit a keyboard in here.
So I'm assuming you have like an apartment or something?
Yes, I have like a studio too that like I rent out that I'm like slowly moving into this house.
Fun.
So we'll see how that works out.
Is it
'Cause,
true that like New York apartments are like really cramped?
yeah, it's like very true that they're super small. A lot of them are just really old and they've been converted so many times that the floor plans make literally no sense. Like there's a just a weird closet that's way too deep to like really utilize fully, and it's like 10, 12 feet high in this room. Um, and then like obviously it's like really expensive too, but another thing about just like recording at home that's hard is like there's just so loud. Like there's just so many like sirens or like people screaming or really just anything. It's hard to record at home.
Yeah, I'm in the suburbs, but I'm not so suburbed away from the city. So like every night
Yeah.
I'll hear like scary noises outside and like sometimes even during the daytime you'll hear like eerie like horror movie noises. Not great,
Yeah,
but
not good.
it is what it is. I guess it's like it's character development, right? That's what they say. Build your character.
It definitely is character development.
Well, we're kind of reaching the end because I don't have Zoom Premium, and that may be my next investment, but for now I don't have it. So
That's for
yeah, so I really appreciate you letting me talk to you. This has been absolutely awesome. I hope I get to come to New York soon. I went once like a few years ago, my first time flying that far, but hopefully I'll get to go again and actually get to shake your hand and see you play a show or whatever. Or maybe
I'll
you'll open for Frog and come to Atlanta.
that would
That'd
be
be
something.
awesome. And I'm gonna
Either
bug Jamie about that too.
you should. I'd be very happy. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for talking to me.
Of
I'll be checking
course.
out of the channel and I'll be hanging around. But thank
Thank
you.
you. New EP out like a month ago. Check it out.
How are
It's
my
awesome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.